My name is Samantha Green. I'm 52 years old. I've never been the loudest woman in the room. I've never needed to be. I built my construction company from nothing. No inheritance, no safety net, just long days, sleepless nights, and an unshakable refusal to fail. I drive a 5-year-old pickup because it runs perfectly fine. I own a house with a view because I earned it, not because I wanted to impress anyone. People describe me the same way, over and over again. Steady, reliable, dependable. Not exciting, not unforgettable. And I was fine with that. Daniel Brooks and I had been together for 3 years. He was 47, twice divorced, worked in pharmaceutical sales. We met at a business mixer. He came over because I wasn't competing for attention. He said he liked that about me, said it felt calm standing next to someone who didn't perform. That was how it started. The relationship was good, not perfect. None ever are. We didn't live together. We kept our own places. He stayed at mine 3, sometimes 4 nights a week. We traveled, talked about marriage, eventually, once his youngest finished college next year. I'm not naive. At my age, you know people often show you the version that benefits them most. Still, I believed we had mutual respect, if nothing else. That illusion ended on a Tuesday night. Daniel was downstairs on a video call with his wine group, 5 divorced friends who'd known each other since college. They did these calls twice a month. Wine, laughter, gossip. I didn't eavesdrop. Never had. But that night, I needed my iPad. I'd left a blueprint on it earlier. As I stepped into the hallway, I heard my name. "So, are you and Samantha still talking about moving to the coast?" one of them asked. Daniel laughed. That specific laugh, looser, sharper, like confidence fueled by alcohol. God, can you imagine spending my golden years in some sleepy beach town with her? Someone else chimed in. "What's wrong with Samantha? I thought she was solid." "Solid?" Daniel said. "Yes. Exciting? No." Then came the line that changed everything. "She's not ugly. She's just forgettable. If I left, she'd probably write me a thoughtful letter instead of getting angry." They roared. Not kind laughter, the kind that cuts. "At least she's loaded," someone said. "That's why I'm still around," Daniel replied easily. "That, and she's great at fixing things. But come on, remember Cabo? Those guys at the resort bar? That's excitement." More laughter. "So what's your exit plan?" someone asked. "No rush," Daniel said. "The market's down. Her portfolio took a hit last quarter. I'll wait until it recovers, then maybe manufacture some drama. She'll either propose to keep me or do her sad, dignified exit. Either way, I win." I stood there frozen. 3 years. Vacations. Meeting his children. Planning a future. And I was an investment strategy. I didn't scream. I didn't confront him. Because what I felt wasn't anger. It was clarity. Quietly, I went back into my office and closed the door. I sat at my desk and stared at the blueprint on my monitor like it was written in a language I suddenly didn't understand. My hands were steady. That was the strangest part. I'd been angry before. Real anger. The kind that makes your vision narrow and your chest burn. When my first business nearly collapsed. When a client tried to cheat my crew out of 6 figures. When my brother died too young and I had to stand at the graveside pretending I could still breathe. But this wasn't that. This was like a door had opened in my head and a cold wind rushed through. Not pain, not rage. Just the unmistakable realization that I'd been living inside a story Daniel had been narrating behind my back. Downstairs, I could still hear their laughter like a soundtrack. Glass clinks. Someone squealing. Someone saying my name like it was a punchline. I reached for the iPad. Daniel had been using it earlier to stream a movie because he liked the bigger screen. He always said it like it was a compliment. "Your stuff is nicer than mine, Sam." He'd meant it the way a man admires a well-stocked pantry. The iPad was still logged into my Apple ID. But Daniel, careless and comfortable, had logged into his own life on it too. Email, apps, social media, even his banking. I'm not proud of what I did next. But I'm not ashamed either. 3 years is a long time to give someone access to your peace. When someone shows you your real place in their world, you don't owe them the courtesy of looking away. So I looked. At first it was small things. Threads with his friends. Wine club chat history. Then photos. Cabo. 6 months ago, Danielle told me he was at a sales conference in Phoenix. He'd called me every night, always with that tired voice, always saying, "I miss you. I'll make it up to you." Now I saw the charges, an oceanfront resort, room service for 2, a couple's massage, and there were photos he'd never shown me. Daniel in a linen shirt, smiling too wide, his arm around a woman in a red swimsuit, Her face turned toward his neck like she belonged there. There were others. A weekend with the guys that turned into receipts for a boutique hotel. A work dinner that had matching restaurant bills. 2 entrees, 2 desserts, 2 drinks. And then I found the messages. Not even hidden, just stored. His friends teasing him teasing back. How's the contractor queen? Still building your empire while you build your exit? And then Daniel's words typed without hesitation. She's a safe place to land, that's all. Once her next contract hits and her accounts rebound, I'm gone. Don't worry, she won't fight. She's the dignified type. The dignified type. The phrase sat in my chest like a stone. I kept scrolling. My throat didn't tighten. My eyes didn't blur. I didn't feel the dramatic collapse you see in movies. I felt something worse. I felt like I'd been wrong about myself. Not because I thought I was unforgettable, but because I thought my loyalty meant something to the wrong person. Then I saw the spreadsheet. A literal spreadsheet. Tabbed like a business plan. One column labeled, Samantha's estimated net worth. Another, projected earnings. A row labeled, best time to leave, market recovery. And in the notes section, if she proposes, wait until after. Asset protection? My hands finally moved, slow, methodical. I took screenshots. Not because I needed revenge, because I needed the truth preserved in case Daniel ever tried to rewrite the story. Downstairs, the call ended. I heard the faint sound of him rinsing his wineglass, humming like he hadn't just carved me open with laughter. A minute later, he appeared in the doorway of my office. Hey, he said casually, leaning against the frame. You still working? I looked up at him. His face was the same face I'd kissed goodbye at airports, the same face that had looked soft in my kitchen light, the same face that had told me, "You're my peace, Sam." I realized something terrifying. I could see him clearly now, and I felt nothing warm at all. Just finishing an estimate, I said, my voice calm. He walked closer, kissed the top of my head like it was habit, like it cost him nothing. You okay? He asked. I nodded. Yeah, good. He smiled. Good. I'm going to pour another glass. Sure, I said. He turned to leave, and I watched his back as if I'd never seen it before. When he was gone, I stood up. Not fast, not dramatic. I went downstairs. Daniel was on the couch, flipping through Netflix like nothing in the world had shifted. Good call? I asked. He didn't even look up. Just the usual, the guy's being dramatic, nothing interesting. I nodded like I believed him. Then I said, I need to check something in the garage. Okay. And could you grab my reading glasses from upstairs? The ones on the nightstand? He glanced up at me, his eyes briefly narrowing like he was trying to measure my tone. Then he smiled. Sure, babe. He went upstairs. And the second his footsteps faded, I moved. Daniel had brought a suitcase for his 3-night stay. It was sitting by the stairs like it always did, like a symbol of his half-presence in my home. I picked it up and placed it by the front door. Then I went to the kitchen. My hands found a scrap of paper from the drawer, a pen from the counter. I didn't think. I didn't draft. I didn't over-explain. Because the kind of person Daniel was didn't deserve a speech. I wrote one sentence. You're easy to forget, too. I set it on the counter beside his wineglass, like a small, quiet mirror. Then I walked into the garage, closed the door, and stood there in the dark for a moment, listening to my own breathing. Upstairs, a drawer opened. Shut. Footsteps returned. And then I heard it. Samantha, Daniel called, his voice light at first. A pause. Then again, sharper. Samantha. I didn't answer. I walked to the side exit of the garage, the one that led out to the driveway without passing through the house. I'd installed it years ago for convenience, never imagining I'd use it like this. I stepped out into the cold night air, got into my truck, and drove away. Not to a friend's house, not to a hotel, to the same 24-hour diner where I'd once sat 20 years ago, scribbling the first draft of my business plan on a napkin. Back when I still believed hard work was the only thing you needed to protect yourself. I ordered coffee. Black. And I turned my phone off. Not because I wanted to punish Daniel. Because I needed one full night where his voice couldn't reach me and try to make me doubt what I'd just seen. Some betrayals are loud. This one was quiet. And that quiet was the sound of my life separating cleanly from his. The next morning, I woke up in my truck. The diner's neon sign flickered through the windshield, casting red and blue shadows across the dashboard. My neck was stiff, my back sore, but my mind was clear in a way it hadn't been in months. I didn't rush. I brushed my teeth in the diner bathroom, splashed water on my face, and ordered eggs like it was any other Wednesday. The waitress recognized me. She always did. Same booth, same coffee. Rough night? She asked gently. Productive, I said. It felt true. When I finally turned my phone back on, it vibrated so hard it startled me. Missed calls stacked like evidence. 62 calls, 38 voicemails, 53 text messages. I didn't open them right away. I drove to my office first. The building was quiet when I arrived. Early morning light spilled across the concrete floor, dust motes hanging in the air like they were waiting to see what I'd do next. I made 3 phone calls. First, to a locksmith. "I need the locks changed on my house," I said. "Today." Second, to my attorney. "I need you to review any access my boyfriend may have to my accounts, property, or digital assets," I said, "and I want everything documented." She didn't ask questions. She'd known me long enough to hear finality when it showed up. Third, to my assistant. "Clear my schedule," I said. "No meetings today." Then, and only then, I opened my phone. The messages unfolded exactly as I'd expected. At first, confusion. "Sam, where did you go? Is this some kind of joke? Why is my bag by the door?" Then anger. "You can't just disappear like this. What the hell is wrong with you? Answer me." Then threats. "I'm calling a lawyer. You don't get to do this." Then bargaining. "We can talk this through. It was just stupid wine talk. I didn't mean it like that." Then the tears. "Please, Samantha, 3 years means something. I love you." The cycle repeated itself like clockwork. Accusation, apology, rage, fear, over and over. I didn't respond to a single one. Instead, I emailed my attorney a short instruction. Pack and deliver his remaining belongings. Schedule pickup. Then I sent Daniel one message, just one. "Your belongings will be delivered to your address on Friday at 10 a.m. Any further communication should go through my attorney." No punctuation beyond what was necessary. I watched the typing bubble appear, disappear, appear again. Then nothing. Silence has a way of hitting people harder than anger ever could. By noon, the locksmith had finished. New keys, new codes, old access erased. By 2, my attorney confirmed Daniel had no legal claim to anything tied to me, financial or otherwise. By evening, I felt something shift. Not relief. Control. Daniel didn't take it well. That night, the calls started again. Less frantic, more aggressive. Voicemails filled with disbelief. "You're overreacting. You're acting unstable. You're throwing away 3 years over nothing." I deleted them without listening past the first sentence. By the end of the week, he changed tactics. He showed up at my office. Security called me. "There's a man here asking for you," the guard said carefully. "Says it's personal." I didn't even look up from my paperwork. "He's not authorized," I said. "Please escort him out." Later, I heard from a mutual acquaintance that Daniel had been telling people I'd lost it, that I'd had some kind of emotional breakdown, that I'd misinterpreted a joke and vanished like a ghost. I shrugged when it reached me. People who need a villain will always invent one. 2 weeks passed. The calls slowed. The texts became sporadic, shorter, less confident. Then my business partner, Ethan, cornered me after a project meeting. "You're not okay," he said bluntly, "and you don't get to pretend you are." I looked at him. He'd known me for nearly 30 years. Through my divorce, my first failed company, the long climb back. "I'm not pretending," I said. "I'm moving forward." "He's telling people you had a breakdown," Ethan said quietly, "that you couldn't handle a joke." I reached into my desk drawer, pulled out my phone, and handed it to him. I didn't explain. I didn't frame it. I didn't soften it. I let him read. The Cabo receipts, the messages, the spreadsheet. He didn't say anything for a long time. When he finally looked up, his face had changed. "Jesus, Sam," he said. "That's not a mistake. That's a plan." I nodded. "Exactly. Some people apologize because they're sorry. Others apologize because their strategy failed." By the end of that month, we landed the hospital renovation contract, the biggest project in our company's history. It demanded everything from me: precision, focus, long hours. It was exactly what I needed. Daniel tried again, this time with a letter. 10 pages, handwritten, expensive stationery I recognized immediately. He'd always liked things that looked sincere, even when they weren't. I didn't read it. I wrote "Return to Sender," address unknown across the envelope, and dropped it back in the mail. Another month passed. His number still appeared occasionally on my screen. I no longer recognized the ringtone, and that was when I knew something important had happened. Panic fades. Power doesn't. The weekend after everything finally went quiet, I drove to my cabin. It sits high in the mountains. 3 rooms, a wood deck, nothing polished or impressive. I bought it 15 years ago, back when my life felt like a constant negotiation between exhaustion and ambition. It was meant to be a place where no one could reach me unless I invited them. Daniel had been there exactly twice. Both times he complained about the spotty cell service, the lack of real restaurants, the way the nights got too dark and too quiet. After the second visit, he'd declined every invitation with polite excuses. Now I understood why. People who live on noise are terrified of silence. I arrived just before sunset. The air smelled like pine and cold stone. I set my phone face down on the kitchen counter and didn't touch it. For 3 days, I lived simply. I split firewood until my arms ached. I hiked trails I'd nearly forgotten. I slept deeply. No dreams, no jolting awakenings. At night, I poured a single glass of bourbon and sat on the deck watching the mountains darken into shadow. The wind moved through the trees like something ancient and unconcerned with human drama. I kept waiting for grief to crash into me. It never did. Instead, something steadier took its place, a sense of alignment, like a bone finally set back where it belonged. On the fourth day, I turned my phone on. There were still messages. Fewer now, less confident. I deleted them all without opening a single one. Back in the city, work took over. The hospital renovation contract was enormous. Complex infrastructure, impossible timelines, unforgiving margins. It demanded clarity, not emotion. Concrete problems, solvable ones. My employees noticed the shift. I was sharper, quieter, unavailable to nonsense. 2 weeks in, Daniel tried one last angle. He waited for me. I was leaving a restaurant near one of our project sites when I heard my name in the parking lot. Samantha. I kept walking. Samantha, please. I stopped, not because my heart pulled me back, but because my patience allowed one final sentence. He stood a few feet away, hands shoved into his jacket pockets. He looked smaller than I remembered, less polished, like someone who'd lost his reflection. Can we just talk? He asked, like adults. I turned to face him. 3 years, he said quickly. Doesn't that deserve a conversation? I studied his face. Once, I'd known every line of it. The way his mouth tilted when he was about to charm someone, the practiced softness in his eyes. Now it was just a face. The person I thought you were deserved a conversation, I said. The person you actually are doesn't. It was just talk, he insisted. Stupid wine talk. Don't you ever say things you don't mean? Not about someone I claim to love. He stepped closer. I made a mistake. People make mistakes. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary, I said calmly. Calculating someone's financial worth while planning your exit is a character revelation. His eyes filled with tears. What can I do to fix this? I reached for my keys. Nothing. That's it? His voice cracked. You're just throwing away 3 years? I opened my truck door. You know what's funny, Daniel? I said. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not even hurt. He stared at me, desperate. You were right about one thing, I continued. I was forgettable to you. I paused. The difference is, I've realized you're forgettable to me too. I got into my truck and drove away. I didn't look back. That was 6 months ago. Life didn't explode into something cinematic afterward. There was no dramatic montage, no sudden transformation into someone new. It just expanded, quietly. I expanded the business into the coastal town Daniel once mocked, the one he'd said would suffocate him with boredom. The hospital renovation opened doors there, and I bought a small property overlooking the water as an investment at first. Then I realized I liked waking up to the sound of waves better than traffic. So I bought a house. Not extravagant. Clean lines. Big windows. A place that felt like breath. Once a week, I have dinner with a retired architect named Michael. He's designing my next project. He's thoughtful, observant, and refreshingly uninterested in impressing anyone. We talk about buildings, not exits. We're taking things slowly. That matters to me now. Daniel still calls occasionally. His number shows up on my screen. Familiar, but irrelevant. I couldn't tell you what his ringtone sounds like anymore. At some point, I stopped associating sound with him altogether. I don't feel victorious. I feel accurate. Some people think getting older means settling, accepting less because time is limited. I've learned the opposite is true. It means demanding more. More honesty, more respect, more truth. I don't need to be unforgettable to everyone, just to the right person. And I need them to be unforgettable to me, for the right reasons. That note I left on the counter, you're easy to forget too, wasn't meant as a clever comeback. It was a promise. To never again mistake convenience for love, to never confuse stability with safety, to never hand my worth to someone who treats it like a spreadsheet. Promises are something I don't forget. And that's the difference.